Alright, we've got 3 things. Pop them open. Let's see, we've got the anime and there we go. Oh, there's fire card. Oh, another one of these. Okay. Next up, this one I think is non-anime. And look, it's Adventure Time, the complete 7th season. Most of this should be anime, but there's a couple things that look nice. The Eclipse glasses, because there's a partial solar eclipse happening here in Austin in a month. About 2/3 of the sun looks like it'll be blocked out. So I'm kind of curious. And then in 7 years there'll be a total solar eclipse. Anyways, we've got Wagnaria! Exclamation point! Volume 1. Also known by its Japanese name, Working. That's a funny thing. Why am I having so much trouble? Yeah, okay, it's right here. It's probably in a consistent spot, I just never remember. So first of all, we've got, excuse me, a different cast of characters. I think it's different, unless it's supposed to be different. I don't know. She's not wearing a sword. That's the closest she would look, and that's. So I don't know what they're doing. We got some cards here. Of course, I've been lazy about that. Questionnaire, and you notice they don't do that proof of purchase thing anymore. Oh, speaking of things not doing anymore, I do need to show the full image art, just because. Goes in like that, that goes in right there. Next up, we've got Valerian and Laureline. Graphics novel that inspired the incredible new feature film from Luc Besson. From the artist behind The Fifth Element and the studio that brought you Log Horizon and Aquarium. Okay, I'm not sure what exactly this is. Valerian. Is this a source from the same Valerian that is coming out on movie? This is not very stable audio. It only says English. So is this actually anime? I think it's released by Sentai. But if it's only English dubbed on the DVD version, I don't know what that means. At a minimum, it looks very anime inspired if it's not anime. So it's an interesting curiosity. Here we have Record of Lodoss War, which is, you know, kind of a classic. And so this is a DVD and Blu-ray release. DVD or Blu-ray is region A only. Doesn't see a dub. There should be a dub. I can still see one. Oh look, artwork. I guess there's that too. That one's familiar from all the Record of Lodoss War stuff. And I've watched it once, but I don't remember what happened. I think I started kind of zoning out. Hold on, this says Blu-ray plus DVD there, so is this the OVA? Got one Blu-ray, we've got two Blu-ray, one DVD, two DVD. Total of 13 episodes. Oh look, it looks fairly reversible, completely reversible, which is nice because it looks like there's a lot of art options, so you get to kind of choose what you want. This one says Chronicles of the Heroic Knight. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think this one's... 8 through 14, 15 through 21, 22 through 27. Interesting. So this, which I do believe I've already have, yeah, it's right there. Yeah, they released this part on DVD. But they didn't release Chronicles of the Heroic Knight on Blu-ray. Apparently. Interesting. I guess that's good to know, because now you know what you're getting. Next up, we have another CGI Resident Evil movie, which I tentatively consider anime until I find something that definitely convinces me otherwise, although I don't think these tend to have Japanese with English subtitles, so in that regard I'm not sure if they super completely count. Ow! It's this little teeth thing here in this stupid tenacious plastic. Come on. I think we've got the bonus disc here, not rated, Blu-ray, and the real disc here. Let's open the DVD version, see if... Come on. And the DVD version, we just have a DVD disc. Okay. Yeah, so whatever, there's that. These CGI movies have generally been okay, I guess. And finally we've got 3 leaves, 3 colors. I don't know what this is. It's region A. It's English dubbed. DVD region 1. Let's see, I don't think this is any different without the sleeve. The little padding here is kind of interesting. That says Blu-ray there, so we've got Volume 1 with episodes 1 through 9, and then Volume 2 with episodes 10 through 12, and then over here we've got DVD, Volume 1, episodes 1 through 7, and 2. Okay, so those are the same 3 girls, but it's kind of interesting that this intentionally overlaps enough there such that the imagery is like that, I guess. Oh well. This week's anime DVD collection update. So, pretty much most of my watching this week has been specifically finishing Magi the Labyrinth of Magic and getting started and I guess not that far into Kingdom of Magic, but still some stuff. So, it's interesting. I think last time the only thing I really talked about wasn't my impression of the series, but rather just noting that I was playing catch-up. And it's kind of interesting having watched all of Labyrinth of Magic and a little bit of Kingdom of Magic, but I can kind of see why I put it off a little bit last time. There's some roughness to it, which kind of makes me question its high-ish rating. I mean, I guess there's plenty of things that are higher than an 8.2-ish. I think both of these are kind of close to there, with Kingdom being slightly higher and Labyrinth being slightly lower. But I can't completely question it because it still has some enjoyability to it. It's kind of hard to place everything wrong. I mean, maybe I've thought of various stuff as I've gone, but I know that, like, it keeps visiting these story elements that I've never really been comfortable with, and they're usually the low points in most series that I watch. Things like, oh, the main character's really awesome stuff got stolen. I usually hate storylines like that. And then there's, we need an excuse for a friend to fight the friend, so now there's mind control. And it visits a couple of those a couple of times, but it doesn't seem like there's necessarily a lot of purpose to all of it. A little some yes, a little some no, but that, I guess, ties into a bigger problem of the series kind of feels like a mess. And it's sort of like when you start watching it, you kind of get this adventurous feeling that you kind of want to be there, but then it gets bogged down in the story arcs it's telling, and it doesn't feel adventurous. It doesn't feel like it's leading to adventurous, and it feels kind of distracting, even to the point of feeling very shonen, which maybe it's supposed to be. I mean, it kind of feels like, oh, here's how all these characters have gotten more powerful or something. And at the same time, it's like in Labyrinth, when it introduces the character Sinbad, I mean, he's an amusing character, and he's kind of nice, but he overshadows the main character's ability to do anything. And introducing a character like that isn't a problem. The real problem is it just lingers on that for so long, where you just feel like it's all getting in the way of the show, I guess, even though it is the show itself. And I say all these complaints, and at the same time, it's entertaining to watch. It's kind of hard to tell what it wants to lead to because it doesn't seem to know itself, but at the same time, our main characters, they have some funness to them. Morgiana's probably the top of that list. She's a complex character, and when she's introduced closer to the beginning of the series, it's a better excuse for having main characters fight main characters, because it's not that she's mind controlled or they're being forced to do it. She has inner demons to deal with, and so how she deals with that is kind of important. It's similar to some of the stuff from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I won't go into too many more details, but if you've seen it, maybe you kind of know what I'm hinting at there, and why that actually works out. This confliction that a character has, and they grow because of it. And at the same time, she's fun because she's got a war stomp. Her war stomp is pretty damn awesome, intimidating, I'm sure, but also just like awesome, and it kind of gives her a sexy edge, I guess. She feels like, I don't know, like good wife material, maybe? I don't know. It's weird because I usually don't talk about that stuff with characters a whole lot, and with her it's just one of those things, I guess, considered because I guess there's a kind of contrast to thinking of her in that way presented by the show itself that's also contrasted by the show itself in the way it presents some of the stuff, where it's like, it's a good question, how would these people make as significant others? And a lot of characters tend to be really hard to read that way. I think Aladdin, I'm not sure. Alibaba seems like he'd be a pretty normal person. He just kind of acts like a standard high school anime kid in an Arabian Nights setting, maybe, with some shonen battle elements introduced, I guess. But all that said, I am kind of curious. Kingdom of Magic gives you a preview of where it's trying to head at the end of this, and I'm curious to see where it goes there. And it's introduced some characters who, they're interesting designs. I'm not sure that I'm enthralled that they keep introducing characters, because it's the same shonen problem, except it doesn't have as bad of the same shonen pacing, where you just kind of feel like, okay, that's a cool character, but you're supposed to be a story about the main characters. Some stories can kind of balance that a little weirdly. I'm thinking of like Outlaw Star, where I think you can get a good feeling for all of our main characters in that show, where they stand in terms of their capabilities. It feels like when they introduce elements, I don't know. I'm trying to think of Outlaw Star, the series as a whole, in one brief little thing, and I don't know. I'm still curious to see where Kingdom of Magic goes, and like I said, there's a lot of nitpicking going on here, but again, for some reason, it stays fairly watchable, although it is, because it keeps visiting story arcs that I don't like, I do tend to find other things to do. I mean, I've got plenty of chores to do at this place. I haven't scrubbed the bathroom in quite a long time, so there's some mold I really ought to tackle, but it hasn't driven me that far yet, I guess. Outside of that, I guess it's just, you know, whatever our little things I've been watching with friends and family. Finished Overlord with one of them. You know, it'd be nice if there was more of that. It's okay if there isn't. It's actually fun as it is. And then, I guess, another friend, we started watching Full Metal Alchemist, the first one, with the general goal of, both he and I have seen it, but his mom comes over and she hasn't seen it, and it's an interesting excuse to introduce her to it. It's also a good excuse to finally pull out my Full Metal Alchemist Blu-rays. Because I watched Brotherhood on Blu-ray because it came out on DVD and Blu-ray at the same time, but the first series didn't come out on Blu-ray until time later, and now we're playing around with mixing the two, which basically means watching the parts of Full Metal Alchemist that are relevant to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because Brotherhood kind of has a slightly faster beginning, and it skips over a couple of stories that are told really well in Full Metal Alchemist, but turn out important for the story later, even though they seem like side stories. And I think our cutoff point is probably just before, just when the brothers go to the 5th laboratory. Because I think the 5th laboratory is when other elements maybe get introduced, but I'm not sure, because I've not tried reading any suggestions on how to mix them. And we're not going to jump into the middle of Brotherhood. We're actually going to restart Brotherhood, or start Brotherhood from the beginning, and so we'll cover some of the same material all over again. But it should be useful for getting the basic introductory stories that aren't covered so well in Brotherhood, I guess, or aren't covered as well, and then readjusting to Brotherhood's tone so that when Brotherhood builds up, I mean, the tone for them are very different, not only because like the end goal of both anime are very different. Like, I thought what they did with Full Metal Alchemist was actually not that bad of an idea. It's just nowhere near as awesome as what Brotherhood had in mind for where the story needed to go and how it would end. But even if you don't start going into Full Metal Alchemist's later changes or divergences from the manga, there's still, you know, the same musical tone that's set by Full Metal Alchemist, and for some of that, that's actually the high point. I mean, episode 3, the Elric's backstory is probably much better in Full Metal Alchemist than in Brotherhood, but although I'll have to rewatch Brotherhood to make sure, which will happen eventually soon. But you know, the musical tones are different, and they each work for what they're trying to do, I guess. I don't know. It's all a bunch of stuff. Outside of that, I don't think there's anything too notable to talk about. I've been eyeing a game called Witch It. It's basically a prop hunt game. Actually, it is a prop hunt game, but it's interesting because it's designed from the ground up to be a prop hunt game and not to be a standalone mod that's a dedicated prop hunt game based on some other engine. It's its own, I call it engine, and don't confuse that with like the graphical physics engine, but rather I'm talking about how it chooses to tie all those together. So a lot of prop hunt games have traditionally been source engine stuff, I think, in the past, and so there's just a lot of playing around with models and stuff that currently exist. But in Witch It, kind of the neat thing about it is it comes up with a, I call it a narrative, but it doesn't actually do any storytelling, but the basic idea is the people who transform into props are witches, and they're just trying to hide from the hunters who are going on a witch hunt. and it's got some styling of its own. It sounds bad when I say that the textures are very Minecraft-esque, because it's easy to forget that Minecraft textures are just very prominent and in your face because everything's these big 1 cubic meter blocks. But in Witch Hunt, you know, there's some more edges and detail to stuff. So like the witch's hat goes like a traditional pointy hat. And even though you can see the polygons to them, just because of the way it flows, and it's got good art design to it. And like I said, because it's from the ground up, there's also, you actually transform into props. Now you don't transform into that prop over there, except for some late witch ability that I haven't played it myself, but you'll turn into a copy of it. So you'll be a book, and unlike a lot of other prop hunt games, you'll actually be a book. You'll roll around, you do some jumping and stuff, but you have physics properties to yourself, and you're also the size of that thing, and your HP of course represents that. But it basically means that you know, if a book could fit underneath a chair, then when you transform into a book, you can fit underneath a chair. It's got a couple game modes. I say a couple, it's more accurate to say 2 as far as I know. You got 2 versus 2, and then you have a 3 people start as witches and 1 person starts as a hunter, and it's random, and every time they find a witch and take them down, that person turns into another hunter until all the hunters capture all the witches. Or the witches evade being found for long enough. So, and there's at least 6 maps. You know, it's nothing like super mind-blowing, but it is a really refined idea with some really fun artistic direction. The jiggly hunters are funny. I think a lot of people joke about that, and I don't know. Why am I even talking about it so much? I can't even play it. I don't know if this computer is just simply so old and out of date that it will never be able to, or if maybe I just need to upgrade the graphics driver, because there's a known problem with those. And my TV computer needs a graphics card. And I was thinking I needed to replace the graphics card, but the real problem is actually that I need to replace the PSU, because my previous one died, and I switched back to the one that came with the chassis, and that chassis is really small, and the PSU only has like 100 or 200 watt output, which is hopeless for a to run a graphics card of any significant or notable thing, something like the other. Anyways, that's all stuff. I'm kind of blabbering on. So again, you know, if you're here and you're in Austin and you didn't know, yeah, we have a partial solar eclipse coming August 21st. I think around 1:41 p.m. it'll be at its most eclipsed point, which will be about, I guesstimated based on the graphic that it'd be about 2/3 of the sun, which should be interesting to see if it gets really dark out. It shouldn't be like nighttime or anything like that, but it'd be interesting to see what happens when 2/3 of the sun is blocked. The total solar eclipse happens April 8th, 2024, so there's still 7 years for that. But you know, why not get these now and play with them so I know how well they work or don't work. And when the day comes, I have excess for whatever reason. I don't know. Anyways, y'all have a nice week.